Good Tuesday morning. This is your Loudoun County Weather Outlook. Start off with what happened over the last 24 hours. Yeah, we did miss out on any true frozen. We did get some sleep for a period of time this morning. It's quickly changed over to freezing rain, but with temperatures marginal, not much accumulated. I'm sure if you look at some trees and stuff, you're going to see a little bit of glaze on them. As the rain started, it did freeze on contact, but it's quickly melting off as temperatures have moved above freezing, and we've got an okay amount of rain. I don't think there's going to be much more rain today, especially as we head into the afternoon. So here's the low, moving on out. The snowstorm went to the north. I should always mention that, especially this early in the year, if we're on the southern edge of a wintry weather scenario, it's very possible we're going to get mist. It's going to be too warm. Just typical climatological reality. Plus, the high to the north was definitely not in the right location. I'm going to show you a different look as we head into this weekend and into next week as to why we may have a better chance of at least snow if it happens. We will not be on the borderline as to whether or not we'll be cold enough on this next threat. The first one comes, and this is, by the way, it's not quite as cold looking here on Thursday. I think we get into the 40s. On Friday, the colder air kind of settles back in and we really cool off. So Thursday it gets colder up above us and then it really cools off. What we have here going on is there's a little interaction with this up here, this low in here, and this low here along the Gulf. And how much these interact will determine how much precipitation brings up this way. But here's the deal, at least on this system, I think we're cold enough in the depth of cold air above us that if it does precipitate, we probably would see snow because this is not a strong system. But it could still mix over because this is still not an ideal setup in the upper levels. I'll show you a more ideal setup as we go into next week. But even here, the cold air is kind of retreating as this low heads to the east. Still going to be a cold day on Friday, Saturday. Highs will be around 40 or so. Same with Sunday as we're close to the cold air. And as we head into Sunday, cold air is getting reinforced from the north. So you see this high up to the north? This is cold air pushing down. We're going to get much colder as we head into Sunday. And then as we head into Monday, there is cold high pressure pressing in from the north here. We've got a cold high. This is northerly winds pushing in. So if this comes true, we get moisture into place, this is going to be a snow event if this happens on Monday. This southern low overriding the cold air. This is a much deeper amount of cold air. We're really cold, as a matter of fact, in the upper atmosphere. And it has a lot to do with this high pushing here. And this low off to the northeast are pulling in northerly winds. Today's system, the high was moving out. We're getting easterly winds or even southerly winds in the upper atmosphere. And that's why we switch over. This is much colder. So if this comes to fruition on Monday, I could see this being snow. So gotta wait and see if it comes true. What I like about this storm is it's a slower mover too, a long period of some light snow to occasionally moderate snow. And this high is really anchored in place. Strong northerly winds. It's going to be really cold as we head into next week. It looks like a very cold week now. As I said before, as we head closer, it seems like more and more we stay cold. And here's a clipper system. This is a clipper. It's coming out of Canada. It's got moisture riding. It is diving south. I would not be surprised if this changes a little bit in trajectory. So we'll have to see whether or not it brings snow. If it does, it's a powdery snow. This is the most ideal types of snow because of powdery kind of scenario. Even with southerly winds in this scenario, it's so bitter cold and it's a cold origin that we probably would get snow. It's still potentially would change rain. As you see, these southerly winds are warming it up here to the west. But it definitely would start as some snow and then switch over. It doesn't look that powerful on this setup, but what it does do is reinforce the cold air behind it regardless. And so this is a cold, windy day next week, a Saturday from now. If this comes true, we're so far off. I mean, whether or not this comes true or not, we'll have to figure out. And here comes some more cold air slipping down to the country now. It is slipping further west, which should trigger a warm up. But like I said, this has been the unfortunate or fortunate challenge in the model this year, and that is that as we get further out in the system, that what looks like it's going to go here has been going a little further east. So been making it more cold than what it looks like in the long range models. But this is not a warm pattern. This is a really chilly, cold pattern It's got tons of potential. If we get things to line up right, it's good. I think right now we just don't. Now in the very long range here, this does show troughing. This is very long range. It does show troughing or a trough here in the west. So if that's the case, it will start to erode the warm and the cold, which could provide an overriding situation and actually be at least a wintry storm late in the period. Anyway, that's a long explanation. So let's just summarize. Today, cold rain will end probably in early afternoon. We could still see some showers throughout the day. I'm not saying it's totally there, but the core of the rain should be out of here by about noon or so. Tonight it will be cold this week, pretty cold this week, but tomorrow a little bit warmer than today, and then Thursday, warmest day that week in the 40s, but winds will bring in colder air for Friday. Thursday night into Friday should be really cold. Could see lows in the teens. In the 40s this weekend looks pretty likely. We'll still watch Friday. If we get a sneaky storm to the south and maybe some snow in here or some mixed precipitation, we'll see. But next Monday will be the next big thing to watch, and it will be plenty cold for that to be snow if it comes true. But again, it's so far off, who knows? And then I don't see it warming up next week, and then we'll have to look for the long range to see if anything happens. All right, y'all, that's it for me. Have a good Tuesday.